She's a wonderful woman. I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But you ain't no Elon.
But she also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
When Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly start pulling back the curtain, it's not just gossip, it's demolition. And this time, the spotlight's on Oprah. What they reveal isn't just uncomfortable, it's the kind of truth that doesn't come with the book club sticker. If you're tired of polished personas and media smokescreens, hit that subscribe button now.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What, you just...
Oh, you don't believe?
You don't believe?
Oh, believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
If you hear the name Oprah and instantly think wisdom, warmth, and free cars, get ready to have that image steamrolled by Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly on a truth rampage. Rogan's dropping blunt takes like kettlebells, Megyn's slicing through the media fairy dust, and Oprah? She's looking like someone just canceled her book club mid-sentence. What did they say that flipped the talk show Queen's carefully polished empire upside down? Buckle up. This takedown is juicier than an Oprah couch confession with zero commercial breaks.
I used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. You know, before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came, and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter, she's a propagandist.
Imagine standing on top of a mountain of kale smoothies, jade eggs, and 27 different spiritual advisors, and still being confused about basic common sense. Welcome to the summit of Oprah Winfrey's empire, where intuition replaces evidence and every problem can be solved with a quote from a vision board. That's the empire Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly didn't just question, they turned into a smoking crater of overhyped self-help nonsense.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as Like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
I mean, it's a bunch of rich people talking about rich people.
Rogan didn't come in swinging with fists. No, he showed up with a steel chair labeled logic, and Megyn Kelly followed with a flamethrower marked accountability. Together, it was like throwing a TED Talk into a wood chipper. Let's begin with the glorious cult of Oprah. For years, she's been the nation's top-tier emotional GPS, except hers has no satellite connection. It just screams, believe in yourself, and then drives straight into oncoming traffic. And we all clapped, we bought the books, we drank the overpriced wellness Kool-Aid, infused with moon water and pseudoscience.
What's up?
Yeah.
It was one of the more I don't want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. When I had friends that were telling me that The Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. There was a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs, they put pictures up of the things that they wanted. Like them in front of large crowds and shit. And I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not how it works.
But then, Joe Rogan, America's favorite cage-fighting philosopher, took one long look at Oprah's kingdom and said, so, no one's going to talk about how this is a high-functioning con game with glitter? And Megyn Kelly, she dove in headfirst, heels on, earrings off, like she'd been waiting her entire career to call out Quino's nonsense.
Did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
She's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses.
Hit that subscribe button now.
What is she saying?
When was the last time Oprah actually spent time hanging out with a working class person in America? She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid gun question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was genuine.
And let's talk nonsense. You remember Dr. Oz, Oprah's very own Franken-scientist, handpicked, polished, promoted, until one day he crawled out of the lab and tried to run for office like a sentient Whole Foods aisle. Rogan raised a single eyebrow so high it developed its own orbit. "This is your guy?" he all but screamed. "The guy recommending raspberry ketones like it's a super serum from Wakanda?" Oh, and then there's Dr. Phil, the Southern fried motivational menace with a degree in whatever Oprah says I am. Kelly didn't mince words. She basically held up a mirror to Oprah and said, "You launched a couch therapist whose biggest claim to fame is yelling at teenagers on daytime TV." Oprah just kept nodding like, "Yes, healing." Rogan and Kelly didn't need to yell. They just slowly peeled back the $1,000 affirmations to reveal what's underneath. A relentless machine of branding, manipulation, and live your truth slogans that always seem to end with you buying a $39 bottle of essential oil. And let's not forget her book club. A kingdom of literature curated by someone who once recommended The Secret, a book that swears the universe is just your personal Amazon Prime if you manifest hard enough. Joe Rogan was practically frothing. "You mean to tell me someone told cancer patients they just need to vibe higher and you put that in the national spotlight?"
Yeah, so let's think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006. Okay.
Nice.
So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the fuck did you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. And that's a book that sold, I think I was reading, it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million copies.
Wow.
Is that what it says, yeah?
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Well, Megyn didn't just raise an eyebrow, she raised the entire bar of journalism. This woman sold Think Your Way Out of Poverty to people who needed policy, not positivity. And what's even more spectacular is how Oprah rebranded herself as this moral authority, like she's the living conscience of America. The same person who helped launch an empire of daytime drama, yelling guests, and feel-good fakery now wants to be the Dalai Lama of brunch. Rogan, eyes wide, basically asked, did we all collectively forget this woman hosted I Married My Horse type content in the 90s? But the pièce de résistance, Oprah's transformation into political influencer. Nothing says, I'm just like you, quite like a billionaire in a private vineyard, telling you which candidate feels right in her spirit. Rogan practically exploded at that. Feels right? Like you chose a senator the same way you pick throw pillows? Megyn Kelly, arms crossed and voice like a buzzsaw, went straight for the jugular. Oprah has more money than the GDP of small countries, and she's still out here acting like she understands economic struggle. The only inflation she knows is when she marks up the price of her chai candles. And yes, those are real. And just when you think they're done, Rogan leans forward like he's about to share the final boss secret. Oprah thinks she's above media bias, but her entire career is a masterclass in curated emotional propaganda. It's just cloaked in cashmere and lit candles.
She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's real. So, you remember she did that, like, kind of factual interview after the, quote, documentary of Michael Jackson?
Yes.
That was so dishonest.
Yes.
She did not raise any of those accusers' serious compromising facts when she had them right there. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. But as a journalist, you have to at least ask. You know, you've got multiple lawsuits against this estate, sir. Might that be an incentive to lie? Didn't ask.
Kelly's nodding so hard it's like her head might fly off. She's not just biased. She is the bias. Soft-lit, audience-clapping, sob story-filtered moral theater crafted by a woman who turned crying on command into an empire. And don't even get them started on Oprah's spiritual favorites. You got Eckhart Tolle mumbling about presence like a guy who forgot his own name, and Deepak Chopra delivering quotes so vague they could double his horoscopes. Rogan nearly fell out of his chair. This woman built a franchise on vague nonsense and somehow convinced people it was enlightenment.
Hit that subscribe button for more.
Megyn basically burst into spiritual flames. Oprah has spent decades selling people inner peace like it's a bath bomb while never once addressing actual policy failures that create real-world suffering. And let's not pretend her influence ends at TV number. She's in podcasts, documentaries, foundations. She's basically franchised her brand of mystic capitalism. Every time someone lights a scented candle and writes in a gratitude journal while ignoring rent, Oprah gets another wing added to her estate. Joe Rogan just kept blinking in disbelief. This woman made a fortune telling people to listen to their gut. even when their gut was dead wrong. At some point, it's not intuition. It's just gas and denial.
You've got these accusations against him. You had a book that you were supposed to produce about Michael Jackson in the context of litigation where you were required to turn this stuff over, and you lied saying that you didn't have it. And you only got found out because Random House and these other publishers admitted you shopped it to them and turned over the metadata to Michael Jackson's estate. This guy, my point is simply, this one accuser was very compromised, and she had him right after the documentary. It aired on HBO right after. Didn't ask a question. Then she gets Meghan Markle. That was another propaganda fest.
And the weight loss saga? Oh dear God, Kelly nearly broke the sarcasm meter. You mean to tell me a woman who spent decades promoting body positivity is now shilling weight loss drugs like it's a new skincare line? Did she find self-love or a better sponsor? Rogan started laughing so hard, he sounded like a malfunctioning motorcycle. So the message was, you're perfect just as you are, until the money said otherwise. And the crowd, metaphorically, losing it. Because the truth is, for all of Oprah's wisdom-soaked brand equity, her empire is built on contradictions so massive, they need their own area code. She's the queen of authenticity who's curated every moment since 1986. Talk about advocate? Yeah, well, she's the advocate for truth who once platformed people claiming they cured cancer with smoothies. She's the moral compass of America, who conveniently always finds herself on the profitable side of every movement. And Rogan and Kelly, they didn't say anything new. They just said what everyone was thinking, out loud, without the sugar, and with a chainsaw. And honestly, someone had to. Because for years, Oprah's been gliding above criticism like a wisdom fairy with a private jet. You question her? You're a hater. You dissect her brand? You're not in alignment. But Rogan and Kelly, they didn't align. They attacked, exposed, and then left the empire of motivational grift smoking in their wake.
My point is coming from the other way. She had the accusers there, and the accusers may or may not have had this experience with Michael Jackson.
Oh, you're talking about the HBO doc?
Yes. But she failed to bring up prior inconsistencies in their stories that really did compromise their stories. I don't know what happened.
I understand what you're saying.
So I'm just saying, as a journalist, which she purports to be,
right?
It was a complete fail.
Right.
And then she committed the same failure with Meghan Markle, where she didn't press any of her claims of racism in the royal family. And now we have the ultimate culmination of her journalistic fails.
Kelly basically mic dropped with, at some point, you're not a media mogul. You're just a billionaire lifestyle blogger with cult status. Rogan doubled down. She sold wellness the way McDonald's sells salads. It looks healthy until you read the ingredients. And that's it. That's the roast. Not a single gotcha, not a debate, just two people standing in the wreckage of a glitter-covered empire asking, how did we let this go on for so long? Because when you strip away the candles, the soft piano, and the slow-motion tears, what's left is just an empire built on vibes, with real-world consequences. And thanks to Rogan and Kelly, the vibe is finally off. At some point, it stopped being a media empire and started looking more like a luxury hallucination. Rogan and Kelly weren't just pointing fingers, they were ripping the facade like it was cheap wallpaper in a mansion of delusion. And under all that polished wood and vision board glitter, a full-blown self-help Ponzi scheme with candles. Oprah didn't build a brand, she built a belief system where she's both profit and product line.
Give me a thumbs up and subscribe.
And the hypocrisy? It's gourmet. Here's a woman who tells you to be your authentic self while being photographed only under lighting so soft it needs a permission slip. She sells vulnerability in bulk while operating behind layers of PR so thick it makes the Pentagon look transparent. Rogan couldn't believe it. She's got more security around her image than Fort Knox does for gold, he muttered, almost impressed by the industrial strength curation.
Oprah didn't help by sort of saying it's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she was probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah who's constantly up and down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long time. And then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, like, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, and I guess she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind the weight loss.
Kelly didn't blink. She knows spin when she sees it, and Oprah's spin game is elite. One moment, she's barefoot in a meadow talking about emotional healing. The next, she's charging 5 figures for a retreat that basically amounts to high-end group therapy plus cucumber water. Spirituality, but sponsored. And then there's the performance, the crying, the soulful eye contact, the dramatic pauses that last longer than most people's attention spans. Joe Rogan, ever the meat and potatoes truth junkie, couldn't hold it back. Is this growth or just Oscar-worthy marketing?
because every episode, every special, every pseudo-confession was just one more brick in a cathedral of self-worship disguised as public service. Oprah doesn't just have fans, she has disciples. And what's worse, they thank her for it. Every ounce of manipulation is wrapped in velvet and gratitude. People cry just being in her presence, as if enlightenment comes with a welcome mat and a product discount code. And Kelly? She went straight for the jugular. You know what's worse than fake humility? Fake activism. One minute she's sobbing about injustice, the next she's posing on the cover of a magazine wearing a $12,000 coat, talking about oppression from her vineyard. Her face didn't even twitch, just pure surgical takedown energy.
When she first hit the scene in like the 1980s and she was fresh out of Chicago, she was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show, she was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss Fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now this thin Ozempic Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is this cleansed, elite, billionaire version who wants to scrub the record of facts.
Then came the pivot. Oprah's new era. Less books, more politics. Because why not? Why stop at healing souls when you can shape elections? Rogan was floored. She platformed Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, and now she's out here playing political kingmaker? That's like throwing a match and then blaming the fire for burning your house down. And let's not forget her favorite power move, the selective silence. When things go sideways, when one of her experts becomes a public embarrassment, or when the wellness advice leads people off a cliff, Oprah evaporates. No statements, no correction, just a quiet retreat to the nearest yurt for reflection. Rogan and Kelly didn't buy the silence. They called it what it was, strategic vanishing. Because at the end of the day, Oprah doesn't get held to the same standard as the rest of the media world. Why? Because she wrapped her empire in soft-spoken affirmations and designer empathy. And for years, no one wanted to be the one to say the Empress has no ethical wardrobe. Until Rogan and Kelly showed up, lit the incense of accountability, and watched the illusion curl into smoke. And now, here we are, after peeling back layer upon layer of Oprah's empire like it's an overpriced onion with a branding deal. We're left with the raw truth. It was never about awakening yours. It was always about protecting hers.
If you're tired of polished personas and media smokescreens, then hit that subscribe button right now